All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call Haloyam Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakal Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right, so this is going to be a part 2 of the last video I did. All right, you know, this book is that I'm reading right here. All right, it's called Population Control. All right, written by D0MS, which goes into the depopulation of Esau, Edom. All right, because you know the elites have an agenda, which is to bring forth the new world order. All right, and part of that new world order is to depopulate this earth, man. All right, when you read the Georgia Guidestones, all right, one of the orders on the Georgia Guidestones is to bring the population of this earth to 500 million, man. All right. So in the last video, part 1, you know, I was going into the chemtrails, and this is going to be a part 2 of it. Continuing going into the chemtrails, all right? Because Esau Edom, being the devil that he is, all right, the scum that he is, all right, he's going to do things like this, man. Destroy the earth. All right? So let's continue to read about the chemtrails, man. All right? He kills off the people, man. And the scriptures say, destroy them that destroy the earth. And that's Esau, man. Okay? It says, so let's get into it. I'm going to just pick up right where I left off, man. Let's read. All right? It says, other tests had, if you wanted to make more sense, you check out the first video, all right? Because, like I said, I'm just pick up right where I left off, man. All right? Let's get it. It says, other tests had already identified barium along with aluminum oxide among the contents of chemtrails. All right, so this is what's in the chemtrails, man. All right, barium and aluminum oxide. All right, during a 3-month period in 2002, 3 separate rainwater and snow samples from Chapel Hill, North Carolina were collected and submitted for formal double-blind laboratory analysis. Therese Agner, all right, an accredited environmental engineer, found significant amounts of barium, aluminum, calcium, magnesium, and titanium in the samples, all of which had a verified chain of custody. Agner concluded that the consistency of the findings indicated a very controlled dispersion of chemtrails by aircraft in the area. All right? Yeah, because all these things put together, all right? You know? All right, it says she added that whoever was responsible for the chemtrails was violating more than a half dozen laws and regulations, both state and national. The potential environmental effects of chemtrails are especially alarming. After a 5-year study around Mount Shasta in California determined that chemtrails were causing eco collapse, more than 61,000 parts per billion of aluminum were found in snow at Mount Shasta, when the normal level should have been about 7 parts per billion. In addition, the soil pH had changed from acidic to neutral, and the trees were dying. Wow. All right. Scriptures say, destroy them that destroy the earth. Esau Edom, that's all he does is destroy this earth, man. Dumping tons and tons of waste into the ocean. You know, putting chemtrails in the sky, poisoning the water supply, the food supply. Look what he does to the animals of this earth. He injects poison into them. They eat, even the animals eat GMO foods, man. They give the animals a GMO diet. You know? It says most concerning was the fact that about 80% of amphibious species in tributaries had died off, and the local potato harvest had declined by 80%. This is all because of chemtrails, man. All right? All because of chemtrails. All right? It says, in light of this fact, it may be more than coincidence that the chemical giant Monsanto has developed genetically modified aluminum resistant seeds. Yo, how to, bro? That's crazy, bro. So you creating fake, bro? That's crazy, bro. So imagine eating food, all right, that sprouts from these genetically modified aluminum resistant seeds, bro. That's crazy, bro. All right. It says, could it be that the environment is being poisoned deliberately in order to enable Monsanto to reap greater profits and gain even more control over the world's food supply? All right. Other researchers believe the purpose of chemtrails may include environmental modification and control, including weather control, biological operations, electromagnetic operations, including the high frequency active aurora research program, which is HARP. All right, that's how they modify the weather and all that. It says, and cell towers, all right, military applications, planetary and geophysical modification, a global surveillance system, and the detection of ionic disturbances from exotic propulsion systems. All right. At least one researcher noting that during the first Gulf War, barium was fed to the Iraqi insurgents so they could be tracked by electromagnetic frequency devices. Woo, that's crazy, right? It says believes chemtrails are monitoring individuals and groups. Yeah, so these things that are coming from, you know, the chemtrails, they go into our bodies. All right, and now we're able to be seen by radar because of it. Like you know, just how it says right here, it says they're able to be tracked by electromagnetic frequency devices. All right, believes chemtrails are monitoring, all right, individuals and groups. All right, it says these possible uses aside, there's clear evidence of the harm of another chemtrail ingredient, tiny synthetic filaments called polymers. All right, polymer chemist Dr. R. Michael Castle reports that some of polymers he has studied in connection with chemtrails can cause serious skin lesions, all right, and diseases when absorbed into the skin. Such polymers may connect chemtrails to another controversial issue, the strange and the mysterious malady known as Morgellons disease that is reportedly infecting more than 12,000 American families. All right. Woo. Let's keep reading. It says, in addition to skyrocket, and I hope, you know, if any of you brothers, you know, happen to fall upon this video, you know, I hope you could take, you know, this information that I'm reading here and you could do your own video on it, man. You know? All right. It says, in addition to skyrocketing rates of lung cancer, asthma, and pulmonary respiratory problems blamed at least partially on chemtrails. Morgellons is an unexplained skin disorder that includes disfiguring sores and a crawling sensation, both on the surface of the skin and under it. Strange fibers matching material from chemtrails have been found on the sores of people suffering from the disease. But just as government officials deny the reality of chemtrails, they also discount reports of Morgellons. CDC officials say they found no evidence that Morgellons disease is caused by an infectious agent or a substance in the environment, and that those experienced and that those experiencing symptoms of Morgellons disease may actually be suffering from delusional uh, parasitosis, a mental illness in which the patient believes they are infested with parasites. All right, Esau Edom always got some dumbass explanation, man. All right, it says Dr. Russell Blaylock says he initially treated reports of health problems stemming from chemtrails skeptically, but now has reconsidered. My major concern is that there is evidence that they are spraying tons of nano-sized aluminum compounds. All right. Woo. All right. It says it has been demonstrated in the scientific and medical literature that nano-sized particles are infinitely more reactive induced and induce intense inflammation in a number of tissues, he writes. It says of special concerns is the effect of these nanoparticles on the brain and the spinal cord, as a growing list of neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's disease, and Lou Gehrig disease, are strongly related to exposure to environmental aluminum. All right, so this, come on, bro. This is Esau Edom for you. All right, it says one other possible ways elites may be using chemtrails is to modify or control the weather. Experiments in this area date back into the 1950s. So it seems reasonable to assume that some advances have been made. All right. In the 1990s, some scientists, including Dr. Edward Teller, all right, the father of hydrogen bomb, all right, and a founder of the Star Wars missile defense system, proposed seeding the upper atmosphere with millions of tons of sulfur or other heavy metals to create a cloud cover to deflect sun rays and prevent further heating of the earth. Some scientists warned such a program would turn blue skies milky white and perhaps cause droughts and further ozone depletion. Teller admitted the difficulty in persuading the public to allow a program that will pollute the air with metal particles, many known to be harmful to humans. All right, let's keep going. It says, and in 1996, the Air Force published a research paper entitled Weather as a Force Multiplier, owning the weather in 2025. Yo, that's crazy. When was this book written? Published 2019. You know, according to this website, published 2019. All right. Let's keep reading. All right. It says, and in 1996, the Air Force published a research paper entitled Weather as a Force Multiplier, owning the weather in 2025. Wow. It says the paper concludes that although offensive weather modification efforts would certainly be undertaken by U.S. forces with great caution and trepidation, all right, it is clear that we cannot afford to allow an adversary to obtain an exclusive weather modification capability. To this end, the paper states efforts are already underway to create more comprehensive weather models, primarily to improve forecasts, but researchers are also trying to influence the results of these models by adding small amounts of energy at just the right time and space. Anyone familiar with past secret government projects such as the B-1 stealth bomber knows that if the military publicly speaks of a technology, all right, even as a future possibility, it has already been developed. Yeah. Yep. All right. It says likewise, the globalists often telegraph their plans. Yeah, all right. It's called predictive programming. Predictive programming, and also hidden in plain sight. It goes over people's heads, man. Likewise, the globalists often telegraph their plans. All right. Yeah, because for example, 9/11, before it happened, all types of TV shows, bro. Tons and tons of TV shows. They throw in hints, of 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 9/11. All right. It says a 2013 article in Foreign Affairs, a publication of the Council on Foreign Relations, reiterates the belief in unusual environmental change, stating, "It is clear that unchecked climate change won't just menace natural ecosystems, it will also cause severe harm to humans and could even threaten national security. And because governments have made barely any progress in controlling the emissions that cause global warming, the 2000s saw the most rapid growth in emissions of carbon dioxide and other warming gases since the 1970s. It's not so crazy to imagine that some nations will launch an emergency geoengineering scheme, perhaps before its viability and consequences are understood. Chemtrails could be evidence of just such a scheme." The article concludes, "Until the science gets serious, the politics won't reflect what's really at stake. Meanwhile, the planet keeps warming, and the day when geoengineering might be needed draws nearer." All right. The CFR, all right, publication openly discusses a strategy of reducing harmful ultraviolet energy under the name solar radiation management. The usual proposals involve spraying material into the stratosphere where it would turn into reflective clouds, or blowing seawater into the air with a similar effect. The clouds could deflect just enough incoming sunlight to offset crudely the number of degrees human emissions have warmed the planet, states the author. Flying a fleet of high altitude aircraft that spray particles into the upper atmosphere would cost perhaps $10 billion per year. A pittance for a country that is suffering from severe climate change and seeks a quick solution. All right, we almost done with this. All right. It says President Obama's science advisor John P. Holdren in 2009 discussed geoengineering with administration officials and suggested seeding the upper atmosphere with particles of pollutants, all right, to create a heat shield in the hope of mitigating climate change. Holdren conceded the possibility of grave side effects, but said we might get desperate enough to want to use it. Some researchers believe Holdren may have been testing the waters of public opinion with regard to aerial spraying, as with the chemtrails. All right. An old journalist credo states, "Follow the money." All right. That's all what it always would have been about, bro. All right. An old journalist credo states, "Follow the money." If the world continues to suffer the effects of global climate change, all right, it's the at least that's making this weather all out of whack, bro. The earth is not running like how it's supposed to be, because look who's in charge. The earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, man. All right, he changes the ordinance thereof, man. Come on. It says the losses to the agriculture and insurance industries will be catastrophic. If flooding in the Mississippi Valley, drought and fires on the West Coast, and unusual strong hurricanes, tornadoes, and storms continue, the United States insurance industry could face bankruptcy. All right, bringing down the entire national. Yo, here we go. All right, and that's their plan, bro. That's the plan of the elites to bring down this entire economy, man. All right, all right, to bring forth that what? That MOTB, man. All right, the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, man. All right, it says since so many foreign currencies are based on the US dollar, this would precipitate a worldwide economic crisis. Come on, man. All right. Apparently, someone feels the death of chemtrails susceptible. Excuse me, let me read that. Apparently, someone feels the deaths of chemtrail susceptible people. All right. Whether the very young or old is an acceptable cause to prevent this eventuality. All right. The injection of heavy metal particles into the atmosphere via chemtrails may support various military activities, such as enhancing radar and communications, and even boosting the effects of the high frequency active auroral research program. A vast array of dishes transmitting powerful beams of electromagnetic energy into the upper atmosphere located near Gakona, Alaska. Officially, HARP is designed to study the ionosphere, all right, the uppermost portion of the Earth's atmosphere. However, critics of the program claim this powerful tool may also be used as a weapon to deliver energy blasts equal to the atomic bomb. Woo! All right, and they probably gonna use that in this third world war. All right, they gonna use, bro. Come on. All right, it says destroy communications across the planet. So they gonna do something like that. Knowing the agenda of the elites. To bring this whole world into chaos, man. All right, so they could come behind it with the solution. Order ab KO, man. All right, it says, however, critics of the program claim this powerful tool may also be used as a weapon to deliver energy blasts equal to an atomic bomb, destroy communications across the planet, and even influence human behavior by broadcasting human brainwave frequencies, bruh. All right, conspiracy theorists see the HARP experiments as the possible cause to recent weather calamities such as hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and earthquakes, with some websites, all right, regularly tracking HARP frequencies. Yeah, man. All right, we're going to read the rest of this and that'll be it, man. All right, it says, as reported in the October 2004 edition of Scientific American, work has continued on ways to manipulate weather by using direct energy or seeding clouds, all right, with silver iodide from aircraft, all right. Theoretically, direct energy such as produced by HARP could be used to lessen the strength of a hurricane and, by heating adjoining seawater, actually guide a hurricane away from populated areas. Of course, if such techniques prove viable, hurricanes may be intensified and used as a weapon by guiding them into a specific target, as seen when Hurricane Katrina suddenly veered into New Orleans. All right, and that's all almost all Jake in New Orleans, man. All right, it says in June 2014, the Air Force announced to Congress that it was closing the Alaskan HARP facility. David Walker, Air Force Deputy Assistant Secretary for Science, Technology, and Engineering, told the Senate we're moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the heart was really designed to do, to inject energy into the ionosphere to be able to control it. You see how just Esau, bro, like he really just the devil, man. Trying to manipulate the weather, the natural order of things, man. All right. It says, but that work has been completed. The website geoengineeringwatch.org lists many other known and suspect HARP sites in other Alaska locations, as well as in Colorado, Massachusetts, California, Texas, Norway, Germany, Wales, Peru, Australia, Japan, and Russia. Another scary purpose behind the chemtrails was voiced by a retired military intelligence officer who became particularly interested in the phenomenon after being doused with chemicals from the air that seriously affected his health. This man participated in the Army's remote viewing program, so he was able to physically seek the purpose behind the chemtrail program. What he got was summed up in one word: terraforming. All right, which the word terra means earth. So earth forming. Right, what he got summed up in one word was terraforming, an attempt to alter the environment of the planet. Oh man, all right. It says the case for the reality of chemtrails is strong, but until there is some official recognition of this activity, the taxing paying public will be left to do no more than speculate about its originators and purpose. All right, so I'll leave it right there. All right, it's a good book. I think, you know, um, I'm probably gonna end up doing a series on this book, going into the different chapters like I did with Devastation of the Indies, man. I have a strong feeling I'll probably do that, man. All right, this book seems to be beautiful, man. All right, so Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Ratazad, this lesson was edifying, man. All right, I want to say call Haloyam Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. All right, so on to the next one. Shalom, shalom.